Hello friends, let's see waterfall and agile approaches of project implementation. We will talk about what are the advantages of waterfall, in what scenarios waterfall approach is used, in what scenarios agile is used. Both are having their own advantages as well as disadvantages. When we talk about waterfall is a pre-planned and executed using formal change control. Heavy documentation is required in waterfall. Basically, whenever you are clear that the scope is already set and you don't expect any changes in the scope, we use a waterfall approach. Waterfall have defined stages. For an example, first of all you design it, then you execute the implementation, you code it, you test it, and then you execute it into production. So when one phase is completed, then only the other phase is started. With waterfall, users are not having any scope of checking how much development is done. Users only know the implementation as a developed product at the time of testing only. Waterfall is a risky approach because if some of the scope changes in mid of the project, then it is very tedious to again go to the initial phase and do a scope change. Can impact the time and cost as well as schedule of the project. But in the case of Agile, things are very different. In Agile, the changes are expected very frequently, and we know that the scope of the change is not clear as of now, and it will be changed very frequently. Business comes with requirement on a very frequent basis. So when we have a clarity of the scope, we go for waterfall, but when we don't have clarity and as an iterative way, we will be getting more and more understanding on the requirement, we opt for Agile projects. So you have to be very clear in that. When the scope is clearly defined, waterfall approach is used, and when you have a iterative way of getting clarity on the requirement, we go for agile approaches. In Agile, short iterations are used to deliver functions, and when the user gives and go ahead, then only the next function is being picked up by the team for development. So Agile, slowly and gradually they develop a project, and at each phase they just test it with users and given confirmation that everything is working fine, then only next functionality is being picked up. In Agile, there is a lesser scope of documentation and less document is required. Waterfall uses extensively wide range of documentation. In documentation consists of each and every detail of the releases and the changes that are done. But in Agile, we have a lesser scope of working on documentation. As in Agile, we concentrate on major functionality of the product. So whenever the functionality is developed, they are being tested well with user, and small chunks of iterations are being worked out by team. And this way, in an iterative way, sprint after sprint, the product is developed.